Dr. Sears, can you tell us in general terms, what are some of the most important things that new and expectant parents need to remember as they journey into parenthood?
I think one of the most important things to remember is just that you can do it. You know, we're designed to be great parents. We have a lot of intuition, a lot of instinct, and by getting bonded with your baby, just being excited about it, having a positive attitude, and knowing that by developing your own parental intuition, you can be a great parent right from the start. Having that kind of positive mindset going into, getting ready to have a baby I think is a great way to get a positive start as a parent.
Now, before we break it down into some of the specifics that you've come up with, I'm interested, you're a father of 3. Do you remember back when you were in that same situation and what, obviously you had an interesting perspective as a physician and, becoming a dad, but what sort of resonated with you?
I think for me as a dad, going back 19 years, is just getting bonded with my baby. I remember as a dad, when we had a brand new baby, I spent hours holding the baby. I didn't worry about everything, how to change a diaper and, how to do everything. I just sat there, relaxed with the baby on my chest for hours and hours. I'd hold my baby a lot while he was sleeping in those early weeks, just so I could get that father-baby bonding time. And I felt that it really enhanced my intuition as a dad. And I think it got us off to a much closer start by just really focusing on the bonding and the physical holding and the skin-to-skin contact in those early weeks.
Do you find overall that perhaps that whole bonding experience that you're talking about is something that parents don't engage in as much these days, or do they?
Well, I think most parents do. Most parents realize the importance of it. And I think, some parents are maybe a little hesitant. There's some advice out there, I consider it wrong advice, that warns parents, don't hold your baby too much. Don't, quote, spoil your baby with too much love. Otherwise, your baby's going to get too dependent on it. But I believe, what could be better than having a baby, be very attached, close to you, feel all the love and the attachment that you have together. So I think it's a very positive thing for parents to spend a lot of bonding time. And there's a lot of good research that shows the more attached and bonded a baby is to their parents from the beginning, the more confident, independent the child is later on.
And it's, it's an interesting topic hearing you speak, because obviously the bonding with mother and baby is vastly different from, father and baby. How would you characterize that?
I think, bonding with moms and babies is kind of automatic, especially for moms who are breastfeeding. They just spend hours and hours a day in that skin-to-skin contact. And us dads have to work harder at it. I think that's why I focus so much on not just being there and not just supporting my wife with the new baby, but by taking it upon myself to spend a lot of specific bonding time holding that baby. And for me, sleeping time with the baby, when the baby was asleep, I kind of saw it as my sort of nursing time, where I could just hold the baby, look at the baby's face, explore the baby, play with his toes, his head. And then just, the baby's not fussy or squirmy or upset or anything. He's just laying in my arms sleeping. And I could just soak in all that baby time during those naps. And I think that's a really key thing for dads to do to get a good start with their baby.
Now, when it comes to tips and advice for new and expectant parents, you've actually broken this down into some pertinent themes that, that parents can keep in mind. Can we go through some of those?
Yes. Yeah, I think one of the most common things is what we've just been talking about is to go into having a new baby, to expect that you can do it well, you can be a great parent, and to rely on your intuition. We're designed as humans to know how to parent our babies. And don't rely too much on books or parenting plans or what you're reading or what you're hearing from other people. Rely on your own intuition, and you'll make the right decision, on a day-to-day basis with your baby in every scenario, at least 99% of the time.
Because
another key point I like parents to know is don't rely too much on other people's advice. You're going to have a lot of so-called experts out there in your family, your friends, your other acquaintances that are always going to tell you the right way to do everything. But I think if you rely on everyone else's advice all the time, and what are you going to do when they're not around and you're faced with a complicated situation? So I always like parents to rely kind of on their own advice and develop their own intuition, and take every piece of advice you hear from everybody else and run it through your own parenting filter, so you can make sure you feel it feels right and fits right for you and your baby.
Especially today with all kinds of, resources, the internet, it's all out there. It's very hard to navigate what you can trust and not trust. One area I know many people are nervous about, have a lot of stress over and struggle with, is breastfeeding. What about that?
Exactly. And, breastfeeding is, I think, very important. I think, every medical expert in the world does recognize that breastfeeding is best for babies. It's the healthiest nutrition. And yet a lot of moms find themselves struggling or getting off to a tough start at the beginning, getting the baby latched on, building up a good milk supply. I like moms to go into having a new baby with a positive attitude that they can do it. Not that they're going to try to breastfeed, but they will breastfeed. And knowing you can do it is probably, probably the winning the battle, right from the beginning. Going with a positive attitude, but then getting the right support. Realize that when you have struggles in those first few days, when you're trying to learn how to breastfeed, it's very instinctual. Oftentimes it's very automatic, but some babies need a little help and some moms need a little help. Get the right support. Surround yourselves with other people who are going to encourage you, lactation consultants, breastfeeding counselors, other family members that can help you get started. Get the right start with breastfeeding, and I like to say, don't just try it, but have the mindset that you're going to do it.
Well, and it brings up an interesting point when you talk about, trying something with a new baby that isn't perfect. Like, nothing is going to be perfect. You're learning so much about each other, and that takes us into the sort of the next tip when it comes to there's going to be challenges, right?
Exactly. Babies, have a lot of, minor or sometimes, moderate challenges in the early weeks. Babies, they have diaper rashes. They don't want to sleep at night. They want to, stay awake and play with parents in the middle of the night. There's the feeding challenges. Some babies will be gassy and fussy on and off. Some babies will even have colic. And so there are a lot of challenges, and I like parents to be prepared. Do some reading ahead of time about how to care for a baby's needs. What to expect for these little challenges as they come. Be prepared. Colic is one good example that I see a lot in my office that parents are often very unprepared for, and I like helping to educate parents about colic and how to work their babies through the various causes of colic, whether it's milk allergies, through a mom's diet, or a milk formula allergy, or it's what I call transient lactase deficiency, which is kind of a lactose intolerance in new babies. Sometimes that's a cause of colic. There's a lot of little challenges babies will throw your way in their early weeks, and so be prepared. Do your homework beforehand. Read. I encourage parents not to read too much, but read some basic baby care guides about how to, care for babies' typical, needs in those early weeks.
Now, you've mentioned colic, and when I think about colic, I think of the S word, which is sleep, or lack thereof, when you talk about becoming a new parent. I mean, I don't think we ever value sleep more than after we've had a child. What are some of your tips around that?
Well, when you have a colicky baby, yeah, you're right. Sleep is a real challenge. I believe colic is an intestinal problem. Something's irritating the baby's intestines. Something's wrong with the baby's digestion. And it most commonly is either cow's milk proteins that in a mom's diet. Most moms will eat yogurt and cheese and drink milk, and those proteins can go through the breast milk and be very irritating to the baby and can really interfere with sleep and cause a lot of gas at night, a lot of colicky symptoms at night. And a mom can take all the dairy products out of her diet and often that will be a cause of improvement in colic. Another common cause of colic instead of the milk proteins is the milk sugar. It's kind of a temporary lactose intolerance that some babies will develop in the early weeks, and that will cause colicky symptoms because all that undigested milk sugar creates a lot of gas and pain. And I'll typically give babies taste digestive enzyme drops, Colic infant drops. It's a digestive enzyme that helps babies digest their milk sugar so they get less gassy, less fussy, especially at night, so babies can get a better night's sleep.
When we talk about tips and advice, part of it is just getting yourself into that mindset of everything being completely different, likely, than you've remembered it as a couple or as life before children.
Exactly. Yeah. It's every time I meet new parents, I say, congratulations, having a baby is such a blessing. And the parents are sitting there very tired and stressed looking often. And yeah, it is very stressful. It's a huge life-changing experience. And you go into it realizing that there's going to be a lot of stress. You're going to have a lack of sleep for a while. But know that you can do it. Be prepared. You have to be. It's a very selfless situation. You got to realize you're no longer just yourself or just a couple anymore. As you said, it's now you're three. If you have twins, or you're four. So be prepared. Be prepared. I encourage parents to try to stay healthy, keep their immune system boosted. If new moms need to find some time for some daily exercise, even if it's just a short walk outside with the baby. Dads, if you have an exercise routine going, continue that, because exercise is a great way to keep your mood up, keep your energy up, keep your immune system up to help you handle the extra stress of having a new baby.
It's so true, because it is so easy and it is so common to let go of yourself once you've had this life-changing experience, right?
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you this. As a pediatrician, as an author, and as a father of three, what strikes you about what you see in your patients, these parents that you treat in the world that we live in today? What strikes you about the questions they ask, or sort of their whole mindset about being new parents?
I've been a pediatrician for about 15 years now so far, and I think parents today, they often ask me a lot of questions, about am I doing this right? Am I setting up good sleep habits in my baby? All the nutritional questions. I think there's a lot of worry about the exact way parents are trying to do things. Whose parenting advice are they following? And I think parents tend to overread and overthink sometimes. If you read 5 different parenting books, you're going to get 5 different sets of advice. And I think when a couple decades ago, there wasn't so much parenting advice out there. There weren't so many books out there to read and so much conflicting information. I think parents often get confused, and I'll meet a new parent and they'll ask me, whose advice is right, or what's the best way to parent in this typical situation. They'll say, I've read 4 or 5 books, and everyone tells me different things, and I'll say, put the books away. You're reading too much. You're overthinking this. Let's just stop and just explore for a second. What do you think as a parent? That's often how I'll start every answer is, well, tell me what you think. Forget everything you've read. What does your intuition tell you? And I think that's one of it's a more relaxing way to parent. Instead of stressing about whether or not you're doing it right, just do it. Parent your baby the way you feel you should, based on your own intuition, your own understanding, and you're going to be right almost every time. And I think it's a much less stressful way to go into parenting, especially with your first baby.
Dr. Sears, thank you so much for your time.
Right. Thanks a lot.